So today I'm going to be talking about American comics versus Japanese comics, aka manga. Now before anyone gets into an arguing fit about calling manga Japanese comics, just think about it for 1 second. Okay. Now, you open up your manga, you look through inside. Sure, it may start off, in the back of the book. But when you really think about it, when you're reading it, isn't it no different than an American comic? Sure, it's also smaller and thicker and a little more expensive, but when you want to look at it that way, then it's kind of the form of a graphic novel or trade paperback, whichever version. You've got the usual panels, speech bubbles and everything. Basically, it is a comic, so don't argue with that. I used to not like I didn't like calling them Japanese comics. I always called them manga, which is fine because that is what they call them over there. So either one you can call them, but everybody knows them as mangas. Now, like the American comics that come in about 3 different styles, you've got the usual comic book issues, you've got the trade paperbacks, which are just a bunch of the issues put into one neat book that is maybe cheaper, less commercials inside it and stuff. And then you've got the graphic novel, which was never in a comic book form, it's been, in a book form. So the manga forms have various different forms as well. You've got the usual single volume one, nice little book form. Pages can be yellow depending on how old they are and if they're new or not. Yeah, this is just an example. And then you've got the omnibus, which are a certain amount of the manga volumes in the form of one big thick one. Usually it tells you which volumes are in there, or if it's the complete set, like Princess AI has a complete omnibus set, and so does Manga Dial, among others as well. So yeah. And then you've got the ones that could be in 2 different forms, which can drive collectors nuts. A classic example of this is Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, Inuyasha, and Ranma half. Although the Inuyasha and the Ranma half are quite obvious, the Inuyasha manga volumes are always yellow, whereas the Viz graphic novels are thinner and different colors usually around. Same with the Ranma half. Ranma half is usually blue for the manga and then different colors for the other. But one that is kind of hard to notice would be the Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball area. To my left here, we've got the Viz graphic novel, which is a rather tall but thinner version of this. It's kind of unfair to compare these two because they're not the same volumes, but you get the idea. So yeah, and collectors go nuts over this because if you can tell, the picture won't do right, and having them beside each other, it just looks all messed up. But there are some that are, as far as I know, only the graphic novel form. Classic example would be Mobile Suit Gundam. Some are in graphic novel form. I'm not sure if the ones that are in graphic novel form are also in manga form. I have some manga Gundams, but they're not the same series, so I don't know if that's fair. But usually it will say on the top, and usually it is mostly Viz that does this, so keep a lookout for that. And then there are some that are naturally just tall and skinny. There's some Dark Horse ones. Blade of the Immortal is one. We got that right there. And then Manga Dial and Lucky Star also do that, as well as some other ones that I don't have handy with me right now. That aside, there is really one big main difference between American comics and the Japanese comics, aka manga. Most notably is some comics will be in the form of, just comedy comic strips, you know. But the humor is definitely different in Japan than in America. So yeah. And the majority of actual comics are, in essence, superheroes. There are some that aren't. There are some that are either just plain funny or action-based or whatever. But a majority of them are basically superheroes. With the Japanese ones, you get an actual story. Every so often you can find a superhero one, but not usually. You get the romance, you get the ninjas, the pirates, the shinigamis, you know, stuff from mythical legends in Japan. So it's kind of interesting to see that translate over so that we Americans can read it. Although here lately some of the manga companies have been closing down, CMX, Tokyo Pop most notably. And it's really sad because they've got some big name series and now no more for them. Hopefully other companies will pick them up, otherwise, you know, it's like they're lost forever. But yeah, preferences is just what you like, and opinions should be opinions. If some person likes Superman over Batman, let it go. I do the same thing. I go crazy over Batman. But if somebody likes Superman or Green Lantern or something, I say, hey, that's cool. Have you seen the crossovers and stuff? You know, because sometimes they do. They cross over because they're the same or not. Same with the manga. If somebody likes the big three and somebody doesn't like the big three, you should just let that opinion go. If they like it, they like it. Hey, it keeps them going. Some of them are good, some of them aren't good. That's the way with anything, really. You know, everybody has their own preference and whatnot. I'm not trying to bash anybody, because I know that there's been drama going on in the anime and manga community here on YouTube. I'm not bashing anybody, I'm just stating something that sometimes you forget. Because you go crazy over this one series, you obsess over it till completely, and sometimes you forget some people may not like that sort of stuff. So you just gotta keep an open mind. Everybody should keep an open mind. I'm not singling out anybody. Everybody keep an open mind. I'm going to keep an open mind. But yeah, I kind of got off topic, but I felt like I needed to say that. So yeah. I don't know what else to add to it. Next week I will be going through a sort of Q&A, but not really. It's basically questions about collecting anime, manga, series, and stuff. So if you guys have any questions relating to that, leave it in the comments below so I have something to work with next week. Otherwise, I will see you guys on Friday for another review of a movie OVA thing. So yeah, I will see you guys next time.